at all points around the world and domestically, people are seeing Joe Biden, they're seeing frailty, they're seeing opportunities to take advantage of weakness. And it's a dangerous time, particularly as he's now running for re-election. He wants to be president for the next 5 years.
Welcome to the Debrief, where we talk to the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering and where the story's going next. I'm Jim Antle. I'm joined today by Editor-in-Chief Hugo Gurdon. Hugo, frail is an adjective that people are starting to attach to President Joe Biden. He's in his 80s. Talk a little bit about how that affects domestic politics as we head into the 2024 race.
Well, we know from public opinion surveys that people think he's too old to run again. At the moment, it looks like he is running again. He has every intention of doing so, but people don't want him to, just as indeed they don't want Donald Trump to. They don't want that choice. But there's a constant stream of stories about how Joe Biden's frailty plays into the election. And the most recent one was about how White House staff, and indeed his wife, the First Lady Jill Biden, are concerned that he doesn't even realize how he comes across, how his frailty manifests itself. The staff and Jill Biden are trying to get him to do less. They want him to pull back from busy schedule. He says he's feeling young and healthy and vigorous. They realize that he actually doesn't look that way when he's publicly performing. And so there on the domestic front, just as we enter the election year, you've got concerns about the people closest to him, that he doesn't quite get the way that he appears, and he's actually trying to do too much. And they want him to be effective, they want him to be vigorous, and they obviously want him to win again.
Sure.
But the fact that he doesn't realize it means that he displays his vulnerabilities.
And during the 2020 race, they had some success shielding him from public scrutiny and limiting his public schedule. But during 2020, you had the pandemic. So it could be a double-edged sword. If they limit his schedule, people ask where he is.
Right.
And if he's out there, people see that he's frail.
It is a vulnerability. It's a real problem. He doesn't have the excuse this time around of the pandemic. People expect a vigorous chief executive to be out there, but he doesn't come across as vigorous, and the people directly around him know that.
So the voters and the White House staff, they're not the only people who can see this. So this is not just a problem at home. This can become a problem abroad as well.
Yes, we are seeing a parallel all around the world, that Joe Biden is thought by our rivals, more substantially by our enemies, to be frail, and they are challenging him all over the world. The Russian invasion of Ukraine and continued war there was a challenge, which was partly due to the fact that they didn't believe, that President Putin didn't believe that he would be prevented by Joe Biden. Joe Biden had been appeasing Putin in the immediate run-up to that. But one can look at what's gone on in Gaza. And that was the attack by Hamas was in part to undermine Joe Biden's strategy in the Middle East, which was heading towards the normalization of relations between the Arab world and Israel. They bet that Joe Biden was not going to be responding strongly, and so they took advantage of that. The Houthis are now attacking shipping in the Red Sea. They calculate that the American response under President Joe Biden will not be a strong one. And so far, they seem to be right, even though the American Navy, the U.S. Navy, has actually shot down 14 drones, Houthi drones. In the South China Sea, the Chinese are challenging the Philippines in areas which have traditionally been Philippine-controlled. They don't think that Joe Biden is going to stop them. And indeed, we're just hearing most recently that President Xi actually told Joe Biden that he wants to reunite China and Taiwan. So at all points around the world and domestically, people are seeing Joe Biden, they're seeing frailty, they're seeing opportunities to take advantage of weakness. And it's a dangerous time, particularly as he's now running for re-election. He wants to be president for the next 5 years.
Right. Thank you, Hugo.
Thank you.
You can read Hugo and the rest of our political team's coverage at washingtonexaminer.com.